Hi, it's Nicole. It's the end of 2021. I'm going to look back at my reading year and see how I did with my reading plans and goals. The main event of 2021 was my Reading Oxford project. The Reading Oxford project is a reading plan that lasts 2 to 3 years. I mentioned it in my previous videos, but I never fully explained what it is. So here's what it is and why I started it. At some points towards the end of August 2020, reading books became frustrating for two reasons. Mainly, one, there were so many new releases every month. Even if I had all the money in the world to buy them, I haven't got the time to read them all. And secondly, when I do read them, I can't quite tell if they are good or not. For example, dare I say this, I didn't like the winner of Women's Prize 2020, Hamnet. I know a lot of people loved it, and to be honest, I didn't. But why didn't I like it? There could be two reasons. One, maybe it was overhyped and it wasn't actually that good, but more likely it's because I had bad taste. And either way, I guess the point is I couldn't tell, is it good? I have no idea how to judge. Another example would be Gone with the Wind. Is Scarlett O'Hara a feminist heroine? I know nothing about the history of the feminist movement to be able to place the story in a bigger time frame. I became very aware of the patchiness of my knowledge in English literature, and I decided to find myself a reading list from an English literature degree. So I found a few and settled on one of the Oxford University ones, hence the name of my project. I had a specific list I downloaded from a college website. My hope is at the end of my DIY education, either in 2022 or 2023, I'll have touched on Old English, Middle English, Renaissance, Restoration, Romanticism, Victorian, modern literature, and some theories, and have a better understanding of the subject and a better foundation. So the goal was, in the first year from October 2020 to July 2021, I was to read roughly 36 titles, including fiction and non-fiction from the Victorian era and modern era, and some Shakespeare's plays and on literary theory, and I aimed to write a review for each book. Straight away, I can tell you I didn't manage 36 titles. I only did 28 from the list, and I didn't manage to cover all of the authors on the list either. I had to miss out George Gissing and W.H. Auden and Brownings, etc. I ran out of time. And I also didn't manage to write a blog post, a review for each book. I gave up on that one fairly early on, and I was glad I wasn't really doing an English degree. The second year, from September 2021 to July 2022, I plan to read anything from before the Victorian era and carry on with Shakespeare and literary theory. I couldn't find a specific reading list for this one, so I'm following the Norton anthology. How has it been going? I thoroughly enjoyed it for two main reasons. First, I really love the planning and the structure it gives. My reading has been more purposeful, and I found out this year that this is the key to read more satisfying books. I used to just read random books when I heard people talking about them. Some of them were great, some of them were not so great, and when it was not, I immediately thought it was a waste of time. But this year, I had Reading Oxford project going on all year, and also had 4 themed reading months. So in May, I joined 1900 to 1950 readathon hosted by Books and Things, and in August I planned a translated literature month, and in November I had a month of fantasy reading, and in December I had a month of Christmas classics. Themed reading gives me an excuse and a challenge to do research and order new books, but at the same time it helps me to stay focused, if that makes sense. For example, the 1900 to 1950 readathon is all about reading novels in the month of May from anywhere in the world, published between 1900 and 1950. So after a lot of googling, I read Peter Pan and Wendy by J.M. Barrie, The Nine Tailors by Dorothy L. Sayers, The Enchanted April by Elizabeth von Arnim, Cold Comfort Farm by Stella Gibbons, Some Tame Gazelle by Barbara Pym, and The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. At the same time, the first year of my Reading Oxford curriculum includes many titles from the modern periods as well, which is roughly from 1910 onwards. So in May, I also read The Rainbow by D.H. Lawrence, Selected Stories by Catherine Mansfield, and Where Angels Fear to Tread by E.M. Forster. And you get a really good sense of what the world and life were like during those decades. For example, if you want to do a Jane Austen themed reading month, you can read obviously one of her novels or one of her unpublished novels. You can read her letters, you can read a biography of Jane Austen, you can read one of the many retellings of Jane Austen novel characters, or you can read a book that appears in one of the Jane Austen novels. Another example, I'm quite tempted to do a plague-themed reading month. There is Daniel Defoe's classic Journal of the Plague Year, published in 1722, which will fit well with my Reading Oxford Year 2 curriculum. There's Station 11, a 2014 sci-fi with some kind of a plague. And there's also The Painted Veil, a 1925 fiction about a couple who went to China during a cholera epidemic. Booktuber Leena just picked out 4 keywords for her 2022 reading themes in a recent video. I think they are a forest, Midland, and something I forgot. I'll put the link in the description box. I really look forward to seeing her choices for those topics. I really recommend you to give it a go. It's super fun and satisfying. That was just the first reason why I love my Reading Oxford project. The second reason is it really forces me to get reading. There are many well-known but never read titles that are forever being made into films and TV dramas, or characters that are so iconic they have entered the English dictionary. Those titles forced themselves onto my priority list and got read one by one. Without it, I have no idea how many years would have passed before I would get to them, or if I would touch them at all. There is no more What is Middlemarch anyway, or I wish I had read The Picture of Dorian Gray, or I promise one day I'll get to Far From the Madding Crowd. I can proudly say I've read them all. Don't ask me to do a in-depth analysis for any of them, but at least I can tell you what they are about, and that is an improvement from just a year ago. On top of that, the project gets me out of my comfort zone and read intimidating books. Out of my own feeble will, I might have got to The Picture of Dorian Gray one day, because it's about a handsome young man and most importantly, it's short. But when would I ever get to Ulysses? Never. But I did it. Did it put me to sleep? Yes, of course. But it also made me laugh out loud. I can honestly say I enjoyed it and it wasn't a waste of time. I wrote a blog post all about how I managed to finish Ulysses. I will put the link in the description box. That's all good apart from one area, which I'm failing completely: poetry. I hate poetry. I don't get it. I tried T.S. Eliot, which is modern, and gave up halfway. And I tried Tennyson, which is Victorian, and gave up a quarter of the way. And I'm in the middle of this tiny book by William Blake. I've been in the middle of it for a month. The only one that I did enjoy was Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, translated by Simon Armitage. I think that was excellent, and it helped tremendously that I listened to the audiobook, which was narrated by Simon Armitage himself. If I ever learn to love poetry, Simon Armitage readings going, and The Green Knight would be my first love. I don't rate books 5-star unless I really love them. So this year I have 43 4-star books and 5 5-star books. I still have 3 to finish before the end of the year, so we'll see. But I will talk about all my favorite books in a separate video. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next video.